Today was of interest, so here you go. This was the final day of block schedule for this week that we had, and in the morning I was unable to cook bacon because I woke up at 7:10 a.m. I still had to do a lot of chores in the house, and that took up a lot of time. I tested time to its limits, as you could say, since I woke up late again, but I barely got to school as I walked to school right around 8:26 a.m. with a cup of yogurt and oatmeal and a bunch of sweat coming down off of me. Again, as I said, pretty sweaty here. This walk was very much hesitant, but I did make it in time. I put on that spray sunscreen for PE, and I prepared myself for the day. I did the 2 laps in 10 minutes. I finished it relatively quickly, and then I also played basketball shortly after. I realized that suddenly Isaiah, the one in the hood, and the one who was short was actually wanting to play with me for volleyball and was waiting to play with me. Subconsciously, he was kind of expecting me to do that. I didn't want to say no to him, so for about 40 minutes, I decided to play with him in volleyball, missing and hitting shots here and there. As before that, I was kind of sitting down. He was kind of waiting for me. The girls and boys who usually play with us on this team sat down in a large bench behind on a fence, and Josh, one of the players, also came in to join. Though his skills are only basic, and the audience, you could say, was kind of clapping for him in the background. After a period of hits and misses, the game eventually dissolved when I sat down for a break, and I ended the game officially when the other kid Isaiah moved to another team. After that point, the teachers called us in for one final roll call for the confirmation of games that will be playing for the rest of this unit and eventually the rest of this year, since sophomore year is already over. I spent the final 30 minutes with Marissa's group. Correction, it was not Maurice, as I said. As it went fine. There were a few hits and misses, and then a quick talk about fast food at the end. I think that within these minutes, I probably got the most exercise that I'm probably going to get this week in terms of cardio, because I wanted to move fast to school in the morning. I was going to hurry. I didn't want the teacher to call me out, the PE attendant. And volleyball itself is already fast paced, and having to catch those volleyballs that missed already take more energy. For period 3, we had a book search assignment this time to complete, but during this time, the teacher pulled me outside suddenly and offered extra credit to waive low test scores, under condition that I help a student near me who needs help with context and words for assignments, acting me as an informal TA for that student, for the one that needs my help. And that condition is that I do get extra credit and I get my test scores waived. That one very terrible. Eventually, both informally agreed on it, so I might help that student for a while. And then, before the teacher announced to him, I helped the kid, as he asked me, make some generalizations about the Cold War using a simple metaphor. For example, I don't like Sam, but I don't want to attack Sam directly, so I use John and feed him with drama that Sam has so he can cause a mess to Sam. Is what I said as an example of proxy war, and it mirrors a Cold War on a much bigger scale. And to note here is that this was an example that I showed to him. I don't hate any Sams or any Sams in the school. Next, we did Cold War notes for another 25 minutes, and the daily bell ringer was: do you support making higher walls along the American borders relative to Mexico to strengthen border security? And he said no incorrect answers that the teacher mentioned. And a question that also came up to me as I was thinking that, and I was thinking of an answer, is that if I ever get a girlfriend or someone who really loves me or wants me, let's say that they do not have legal documents with her, would I willingly vouch to cover for her future citizenship to America if she does end up getting deported, and to protect her, and promise to marry her and be with her as a result? Like, I can't stop the physical deportation if it happens, but once she eventually applies again, will I be able to secure and willingly help her legal documents, and then will we interlope into a life together as a result? So one of the biggest what ifs that I got from reading that Bowling is that later in life I might face a situation like this, or it may never happen at all. But I know it does happen to some people. As for notes, we learned more about the Berlin airlift. I answered a question for extra credit of what was the most powerful bomb then, which was the SAR bomb. I learned about the Doomsday Shelters, the Plane U-2 incidents, and the Gary Powers incident where I got caught by Soviets for spying. We finished up on the project later, and I gave my friend the final citations for tomorrow because I also brought the wrong copy today. So eventually I just copied those citations and pasted it on the Google document about the project. And for the rest of the class, I was just kind of chilling. Teacher also canceled the quiz time today since there was only like 9 minutes left for time remaining. So eventually, after that point, we finished up the stuff that we had to do. The class finished up the project, and then I headed straight to lunch period. And what kind of interesting, a girl opened the door for me as I passed the gate. She was a senior, but I decided to hold on a short conversation with her, make it spontaneous. And though it was a little bit awkward with me confusing the conversation between first and second lunches, and I'm no master at sociality, so the conversation did go well. But socially, I could have improved on that. So big credit goes to Alyssa here. And I call this chat because within philosophy, you always grow from the little things that you do. Whether that be one interaction like this or learning to do something new, you always grow within the little things. Anyways, I moved back with my friend Gabrielle up there in the library, and it went fine. Then I decided to hang out with another person I usually talk to, and who's also a senior. And surprisingly, that conversation with her went smooth today. And probably the best that I've seen for a good while here. And definitely my social skills are getting better, as I'd say. As for Alyssa, it's not this one. She eventually left early. She was not here during lunch, but this one was a different girl. I'm learning to get better in terms of conversations. Mostly about PE classes, revisiting memories, and classes that will take in the future. And the comparison of Italian versus Spanish, where I always thought that the written form was easier for both people to understand of both languages, but surprisingly, I saw no as an answer to that today. But anyways, credit to that one girl that I did talk to this time for here. For math, teacher said at the beginning of the whole physical project that someone brought into the class, whose project is this? That she asked, and someone jokingly said, mine. And the teacher said, where are your teeth? Because people who have no teeth are bad ones. That's why you have braces, is a joke that I heard. Is that a teacher said that to a student who was lying about a project that they did not have. It was kind of funny at the same time, too. The teacher did have another review assignment, dilation shapes, notes, and always goes from pre-image to image and whatever scale factor that we choose from there. She also said that we cannot solve when there are two variables in a given problem, especially when it comes to shapes. After that, the teacher assigned us 2 more hours to complete 4 pages of a Ready Set Go workbook assignment that we have, along with 2 pages of work on paper. I still don't understand it personally, but I definitely get it. And I said boys at my table are always crazy. I asked one of the boys for help, but he challenged me to somehow know his handwriting, which I've criticized before, but I still get it now. The boys always mention to each other, like, I'm part Russian, I'm part Cambodian, I'm part British, but the other one always says, like, no, you're not, you're just like a random kid out there. Like, bruh. Obviously, they also made some sexual jokes at the same time, talking about sex with Roblox characters. And a character named Zip say, and they said, I'll put in a pencil sharpener in Zip so you can rip inside him, quote unquote, is what I heard. And more Melanie stuff is what I've always heard at the same time, and also having sex with OC characters that they do. But without all that sexual aspect, they do got big prospects and hopes for the animation community. So always crazy, but always looking, always creating, at least for them. Of course, they also told me to shut up a few times, but there isn't anything else I could note here. But after dismissal, an interesting thing that also happened is that a middle schooler, a seventh grader, came up asking me for what was the time in bad English. He doesn't speak it too well, and he's also of Asian descent. His name was Kevin, and I tried to ask him if he had YouTube and maybe subscribe to my channel, or even offering him my phone to number his brothers and who he was looking for as he walked in the school. But he didn't understand. But he told me that he was waiting for someone. He was waiting for his brother. He definitely wasn't a high schooler because he had a short stature and was wearing a bunch of bright clothing. But eventually, I had to part ways as I was walking with him on the sidewalk. But yeah, Kevin's kind of chill, guys. If you see him, say hi to him.